please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Welcome everyone to the exhibition of stupid people. Today we're going to start with Liver King. I saw on my phone I get like news app alerts here like this one, quote, glorified snake oil salesman. Now since he effectively got beaten off the internet for a bit for lying and being nothing more than a little roid rage man, he has appeared of late doing shorts, comedic ones. I don't remember the channel names, I can't play them because of that. But I've also seen him claim he has changed his habits. He's turned it around and he's being more honest. Whether there is any truth to that or not, I'm not entirely sure, but I thought we'd go and look at the Essentially Sports article just for a laugh. Greg Doucette is a Canadian IFBB pro, International Federation bodybuilder, is that it? Might be wrong there. Who has taken to busting several bodybuilding myths and fitness beliefs on his own YouTube page. This particular bodybuilder has laid into Liver King, calling out the internet sensation for consistently lying and fooling the public. So the first question the article has is Greg right about Liver King? Liver King's mantra is based on the belief of ancient people relying on such methods and ancestral lifestyle of remaining healthy and maintaining fitness by eating raw animal. Many of us, myself included, point out that actually to activate some of that benefit, like liver for example, it is better to cook it. In a video titled Bull Lungs, Bull Testicles, Bull Crap, Liver King continues to lie, Greg explains how the YouTuber isn't telling the truth, yet despite confessing to his lies and apologizing, Greg said, what does Liver King 2.0 look like? Well, you see it, he's literally more shredded than ever. Greg has deduced that Liver King's consistent lies utilizing his bodybuilding knowledge, and he continued by saying, and so does anyone think that Liver King is anything more than a caricature, a meme, a glorified snake oil salesman? That if you eat liver you can do this? And I do think Greg has a point. Liver King is more cut. He's not the tallest, he's about the height of a dwarf. On my server he'd be listed as a gnome, okay? He is ripped to high heaven. He has been mocked by everyone who have also taken the opportunity to go, hang on, isn't Dwayne Johnson fairly ripped as well? Should we point and go, maybe he's got it as well? And so this Liver King 2.0, this openness, honesty without the performance enhancements, yes, does come across as a bit disingenuous, and many bodybuilders have called it out. There are some who do strongman stuff who are pushing it a bit much with their own health. Eddie Hall gets a fair amount of flack because at his age he really shouldn't be that heavy anymore. But some people don't like to be told that perhaps it's time to slow down a bit. And in the case of Liver King, he's in his 40s. Much like Dwayne Johnson, it is not sustainable for too much longer for either of them. Liver King especially because of his height. When this all happened, when Liver King got busted, he lost about 100,000 Instagram followers and 50,000 TikTok fans. He also lost a fair few subs on YouTube, but he has been clawing back at it. His style of content is shot one particular way, and I did cover this when it happened. I'll link the video in the pinned comment down below with the sources if you're interested in watching that video busting Liver King. I'm also going to link Greg's YouTube channel because I think his video is very informative, and I think it's key to understand from the experience of somebody who knows what it is to be a bodybuilder that is so contestable and detestable about how Liver King chooses to live his life, especially when he sells it akin to that of an alpha male mentality. I would point out the way humanity lived back in the good old days is not remotely comparable, and nobody then would have looked anything like Liver King, I promise you. It is a form of delusion to think otherwise. So I saw this next subject on Twitter via Shaky Bird, who had tweeted a headline, "This stupid has to be clickbait." But on the other hand, image, Peter writes a letter to Gloucestershire's cheese rollers demanding vegan cheese. This is an honourable mention, it shan't take long. Turns out, on the 18th of May 2023, this did in fact happen. Cheese rolling takes place every year on the final May bank holiday, which is Monday the 29th. Contestants from around the world attend to test their mettle against the steep incline of Cooper's Hill in a series of downhill races chasing a 9-pound block of double Gloucester. I have seen accidents on this that look like someone's head has just made contact with the bottom of their spine, backwards. It is simultaneously impressive and horrific. They wrote, "Dear Cheese Rollers, I'm writing on behalf of People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals to urge Cooper's Hill to embrace a new tradition. Instead of the annual rolling of a dairy cheese made by expelling fluid from the underside of an unwilling Gloucester cow, switch to vegan cheese. A move that would be better for cows and the planet and would make the event more inclusive. Leave behind tired old traditions and roll out a new one. Far from suggesting anyone stop chasing a cheesy dream, we're simply encouraging you to update the nature of the cheese for everyone's benefit." By the way, this goes on for 4 more paragraphs. Do I even need to do this? I'll link the article down below. Do give it a good read, it is quite amusing. Let's now talk about Brie Larson. Brie Larson has been a very proud supporter of the Me Too movement, and at the Cannes Film Festival, she was in attendance and asked about something related to it. This festival is also marking the first film back into the industry for Johnny Depp, where he portrays Louis XV. During a press conference, Larson was asked by a journalist whether or not she was going to see that movie, to which she replies, "You're asking me that? I'm sorry, I don't understand the correlation of why me specifically." Now the reason why is obvious. You do now have the context. She's very much on the side of women regardless, and she supported Me Too, which has been undone by people like Amber Heard. That's not to say all of it undone, but her actions alone, Amber Heard's especially, took a massive dump on Me Too, using it for her own self-interest, and it failed magnificently to the tune of $10 million. Deflecting the question when she was pressed further, she said, "You'll see, I guess, if I will see it. And I don't know how I'll feel about it if I do." Some had questioned why Johnny Depp was even allowed there to begin with the director Thierry Frémaux defending the choice, saying, "To tell you the truth, in my life, I have only one rule. It is the freedom of thinking, the freedom of speech, and the freedom to act within a legal framework. If Johnny Depp had been banned from acting in a film or the film was banned, we wouldn't be here talking about it." This isn't the first time where she's not really backed somebody who has been, let's face it, exonerated. Although some will say, but in a British court, he was found highly probable to have done these things. Yet, there was no actual definitive proof that he did anything, Johnny Depp that is. Back in 2017, Brie Larson famously failed to clap for Casey Affleck after presenting him with the Oscar for acting in a lead role. Many years earlier, he'd been sued by 2 women for sexual harassment committed during the filming of I'm Still Here, with both sides settling in 2010. She stands whammon, yo. She said at the time, "I think that whatever it was that I did on stage kind of spoke for itself. Yes, virtue signaling, that's what it's called." Adding, "I've said all that I need to say about that topic." I guess what makes that funnier is that she also had to give him a Golden Globe for his performance in that as well. She was not happy, alright? Now I know Brie Larson is currently in the middle of a promotional cycle for Fast and Furious 10, a film renowned for high quality acting, and not a slight rip-off of Michael Bay's Transformer-style explosiveness. I should now add one more little thing before we move on, and that is that Brie Larson has nothing to do with Johnny Depp's new movie at all. So why she was asked about it is entirely because of her known hatred for certain types of guys. Beyond that, it was a pointless question really, because the answer was going to be the same. You knew she was going to be awkward about it. That said, there is no doubt in my mind when her front door is closed and she's safely ensconced within her Sancta Sanctorum, she's streaming that bish and enjoying every moment of it. We're going to do one more honourable mention because this is beyond stupid. Karina Gasparova, at an employment tribunal, spoke about her boss, Alexander Gulandris, used question marks in a same message that were code for asking her when she would be ready to engage in sexual acts. Further claiming that her boss renamed a work file with his initials AJG, it was actually an acronym for a jumble genital. She also accused Gulandris of trying to chat her up as he ran his hands through his hair while staring at her. She was suing the company, ESS Docs, a technology company from London, for sexual harassment. A judge dismissed the claim, ruling that she had skewed perception of everyday events and regularly misinterpreted innocuous interactions. The coup de grace of this was when she decided to mistake 2 XXs in an email for kisses. when in reality, Gulandris was emailing Gasparova asking for information on a project. To indicate the details he required for her to fill in, he used XXYY and question marks in the message written in red. She believed the X's were kisses, the Y's a form of sexual contact, and the question marks as querying whether she'd be ready to engage in sexual acts. For this, Gasparova was ordered to pay £5,000 to S-Docs in costs because she wanted to be offended so badly that it cost her $5,000, a decent job, and I'll be honest, career progression, some dignity. Let's finish by talking about Just Stop Oil, who haven't stopped. They're trying to make things stop, but it hasn't really yielded an outcome they would desire yet. So much like with Liver King, I had alerts for Just Stop Oil as well, where they brought more traffic in London to a standstill with another one of their slow marches. But this time it came with a bit of a clapback. In a video clip posted to their Twitter, a man was seen walking up behind the group in the middle of Mansell Street and snatching the banner from them. He smacked a phone out of a protester's hands and then shoved several of them, about a dozen in fact, because people are getting cross with these people now, as if they weren't before already. This is getting beyond parody. You're claiming to want to do a bit for the environment, but you're causing sales of fuel to go up, because people are having to refuel because they're stuck in traffic waiting for you dipshits to get out the road. Section 12 now exists to stop you from being in the road in the first place. Not that there are many of you protesting, it's quite impressive how few of you can disrupt enough traffic. A spokesperson for the Met Police said it happened before officers arrived, which is why they weren't able to enact Section 12 quick enough, which I will admit, I do not agree with the idea of a Section 12, okay? Just Stop Oil also held other traffic blocking walks nearby, from Queen Victoria Street to Fleet Street in the City of London, which means sod all really, because, let's face it, it's London, it's central London no less, the City of London. Incredibly busy, regardless of their interference. Since April the 24th, they've been holding daily slow march protests because they want new oil and gas licenses revoked. The current ones are fine, but I do want to now say they're not complete dickheads. Somebody did walk up to them and say, look, my wife is in labour in the car behind you guys. Can you please let her through? And they actually did. They let her through, which was really good of them considering the circumstances. Since they have been busted a few times in the past, not letting ambulances through while claiming to want to let them through, they don't. That one act somewhat humanized them ever so slightly. One thing that really does bug me about all of this crap going on with Just Stop Oil is that the people who are actually going to get into trouble aren't them. No, it's going to be the people who shove them to the ground. Because as is well established in the United Kingdom, you are not allowed to touch another person, or it is akin to that of a full-on known ABH grievous bodily harm thing, yeah? Get yourself slapped with an ASBO. Apparently the F around find out graph is only applicable to those who harm the protesters, who are disrupting the blue-collar worker who they would want on their side, but it turns out the majority of those within Just Stop Oil and many other climate environmentalist groups are predominantly middle and upper middle class swine, essentially looking down on the peasantry that they claim to want to protect along with future generations of oiks.